Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to this edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. We're going to continue our discussion of the opioid bill just passed in the U.S. Congress. Joining me now is U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican of West Virginia. Great to have you back on the show. I guess we haven't had you in here since we remodeled the studio.
Beautiful studio. It looks wonderful.
Kind of like a spaceship, isn't it?
It looks very cutting edge.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here. Let's talk about this. We had just spoke with Mike Stewart, the U.S. Attorney. The Opioid Crisis Response Act passed in the Senate 99-1 this past week. You had a big hand in this. What do you think are the overall highlights of this bill?
Well, it's very comprehensive. 72 senators all across the political spectrum had a hand in developing this bill. So it's very bipartisan, reacting to what is a national health emergency. Some of the things I think that are important for West Virginia is an emphasis on our babies, our neonatal abstinence syndrome babies, the CRIB Act, which sort of mirrors after Lily's Place, so we can care for our youngest. One of the things I noticed in walking and talking with folks here in West Virginia is the family trauma that's associated with addiction and overdosing, particularly when there's other children in the house. We need to get a handle on this childhood trauma. What's it doing with the families, and how can we better meet those challenges and do some research? More recovery availabilities and treatment. The quick response teams that Huntington has been developed, we put a special emphasis on those as a way to follow somebody who's had an incident of an overdose. And then the last thing, I think probably most importantly, is working with Senator Shaheen from New Hampshire, I was able to get into the bill that the most highly affected states in terms of mortality of overdose would get a set aside so that we could actually target the money where we're most affected. And New Hampshire's got this same problem. West Virginia does. We have small populations that doesn't drive the funding. This will drive the funding.
Yeah, I want to talk to folks about that, because in the old days, the problem was California is the biggest state. It has the most people. It got the most money. Texas, and of course, they have an opioid problem too, but not as concentrated, not as bad. We have the highest overdose death rate in the nation.
We do.
New Hampshire has one of the highest. I had moved here from Rhode Island. They have a horrendous problem there. It seems like the little states were getting the least money when they actually needed the most.
Well, the reason they're getting the least money is because it's done per population. It's, you know, it's a head count thing. For every person, you get a certain amount of dollars. And so Ohio, who has a big problem, doesn't have this same issue because they've got the population to drive the funding. They've got, you know, millions and millions of people in Ohio. So what this does is says if you have if you're in one of the more highly stressed areas, you're going to have the opportunity to have more funding. For instance, in one of the programs, we got $7 million last year, one of the federal programs. $7 million sounds like a lot, but this is an expensive problem. And so we look to that to probably triple under this bill.
We always hear this argument and debate in the opioid issue. Is the priority law enforcement? Is the priority treatment? Is it prevention? Some say all three. Yeah. This bill does seem to have a mix of all three, doesn't it?
It's definitely comprehensive. It has prevention, stopping fentanyl from coming in from China through the U.S. Postal Service. I was an integral part of that. And also at the border, heroin coming in and methamphetamine now. That's all you're hearing now is methamphetamine. It's moved from pills to heroin to methamphetamine here. So we need to help law enforcement. Then we've got the treatment and recovery portion. We've got the family portion and caregiver portion where we're looking at impacts of trauma on the family, on babies, on young addicts. And then the research portion, along with prevention on the younger side, the research portion which says we've got to find a pain reliever that's not addictive. That's how we got into this. Let's move the research forward. I mean, we're moving quickly on that, and I think we'll get there.
Like you say, 72 senators had their fingerprints on this. Yours are all over it. Senator Manchin was involved. $8 billion. Is there anything we didn't get? What are some of the things that maybe we need? We're down to a minute, too. Maybe some of the things we really need that maybe didn't get into the bill that you got to keep working on.
You know, what we did, I think, was build on where the success has been. We're behind the curve in trying to meet this challenge, and so we're always kind of trying to play catch up. I think we did a good job of really hitting a lot of bases. We'll find out which of the things that are in that bill fall off and where we need to put more greater emphasis.
Well, we look forward to its implementation. We see it daily as news reporters out on the street here in the capital city. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, always good to see you. You have a spot on the show anytime you want to come on. The public wants to hear from you. Let's hope we can get to the bottom of this opioid epidemic.
Sounds good.
Thank you for watching Inside West Virginia Politics. We'll be back here again next Sunday.